So we're probably good to go. So this is Revit. Um, this is the start screen. Along the top, you have menus that'll matter more once we get into a file. To start a new file, you can click on the new button here, or you can click on the construction, architectural, structural, or mechanical template. Today, I was figuring that we would just probably use the architectural template. So if you just click on that, it will open up the file, and hopefully you'll be an Imperial. Oh, no. Okay, so once you're actually into your file, you'll be greeted with a menu like this. Down in the bottom left here, you have your project browser, which shows you the different types of views that you have. So right now we're in a floor plan, which is looking from the top down at a certain plane. You have ceiling plans, which are looking upwards. So that way you can work on things like electrical or like ceiling details, having to go into a 3D view. Often though, I find it easier to work in a 3D view for that kind of thing. Then you also have elevations, which are the views of your object. Then you have some legends for a while yet. That'll probably be something that we deal with when we're actually in the build season making the final drawings, depending on what the actual teams want and whether or not we have legends. Then we also have schedules. This will be something that we cover later on because it is a more common topic, but it is highly useful, especially for how many of a certain component is going to be your design. Then we also have sheets, which is where your drawing, like your plan, on a piece of paper. That is where you'll basically export your drawings from. Then you can import them into things like Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever you want. Then we have families. This is something that I'll talk a bit more once we get on stuff. And groups is things that you make locally in the project. So if you have a bunch of bedrooms and you want to copy, let's say, a setup of beds between them, it up and manually place each of your bed and other furniture families in the environment. So does that all make sense? Okay, so that means we can actually get started. And today I was thinking we would model a small two-car garage because that seemed like a fairly easy starting point. So to do this, we're going to start out using the level 1 floor plan, and we're going to select the wall top left. The wall tool shortcut is WA, and because you're going to be using the wall tool so much, I highly recommend you learn that shortcut because it is so useful. Why is it not copying there? WA, like this. And then once we have our wall tool selected, you'll notice this green ribbon on top of the screen. That green ribbon will give you some critical information. We want to make sure that we're on the height preset here, and instead of being unconnected, which is what this says if we click on it, we're going to want to select level 2. That way, the wall will go from the first level in the elevation to the second level in the elevation, and then that way, as you adjust elevation heights, as we'll be able to see later, the height of the wall will automatically update, and you won't have to go back and manually adjust every single and every single line and every single word that you would have to in a program. Now that we have this selected, we can change which wall type we want to use. For this, I think we're actually pretty good with the generic 8-inch wall. So I figure we'll just draw a couple walls. So to draw a wall, you can just left click and draw out the length of wall. And you'll notice that there's a dimension along the top which we can use at the zoom level we're at right now. It's not 4 feet, but as you zoom in, it's now 4 feet. Eventually getting fractional inches, I think. Okay, so what you have, I guess for you, the default queries. So I'll just quickly show you how to navigate to the Imperial stuff. So when you create a new project, you can click on Browse, and then it'll open up this new window here. At the top, this tool here to go up the templates. You'll want to go under US Imperial, because that way we'll be able to work in imperial dimensions. And then the template is just the default.rt. When we actually get into build season, I expect I'll have some time to prepare a standard template that we'll just use and do everything off of. Like the beam we'll want to use in the model instead of having to go through and manually. So with that, you should have an imperial, and yeah. Vector array. Okay, so to draw walls, we can bring up the wall tool. Using WA, we can constrain the height to level 2, and that way we aren't drawing a wall that's 20 foot tall or isn't connected to other surfaces, which makes the model less useful in some scenarios. So then to draw the wall, the 200 millimeter will be perfectly good. We can draw on, what's 20, I mean centimeters. Let's do some quick math. 24 times 2.54 times 12. That is wrong. Wait, that is in centimeters. That's 7.5 meters basically. So then we can type in 75,000. That feels wrong. That feels wrong, right? 24 feet times 12 inches times 2.54. 730. Because it's not. Whatever. That just feels weird. Wait, no, that's right. Compared to the size of this view. Yeah. So then we have our first wall, and we can either, and then we can keep drawing our other walls to the same dimension. It could be 7,500 millimeters long. If we do all four, we'll have a set of walls like this, which is pretty good, and we can drag to select them all like this, and I'm putting it near the center of the project because I like to have it at the center of the project. Now, the stage we are at right now, we can't do too much more except for adding the doors and windows to the garage. So let's add the doors. To add doors, along the top ribbon to the right of walls under the architecture tab, we have the door tool. So we can click on this, and you'll notice that in the default list of doors, we don't have an exterior door or a garage door. So what we can do is, along the top ribbon, we can load families. This is a super important tool. I have to use processes. So you can load a family, and it'll bring up this window. Then I'm just going to navigate to the US metric for today. Doors. And we're going to go under resident, and then in this menu, we're going to have this is commercial stuff. Under the residential, we have two different garage door models. It won't. Personally, I prefer the look of the inbox model. So you can click on this, click open, and it'll add that model to the project. And then we can select between the different sizes of doors we want to use. 2.4 meter by 2.1 meter garage door. Use the 48 by 2100 millimeter. We can select that, and then when we zoom in a bit using the scroll wheel, notice that we get this preview of where the door will go, and depending on which side we have the mouse cursor on for the wall, that'll be the exterior side. And as you get close to the center, it'll snap a little bit when the dimensions on either side are equal. Once that happens, just click left click, and we'll get a door, and press escape to get out of the placing door menu, and we now have a door placed. Now we can go through and get a exterior man door model, which we have multiple points of entry to this garage. You can load family again. And while this is maybe not the best door for, let's say, a garage, we can use the M door exterior, single and matte glass wood clad, as the door model, and again, but this time we'll be greeted with a menu like this. It greets us with a menu like this because there are so many different models, like subtypes, inside the model, that loading them all would balloon the Revit file size to something obscene, which would slow down your work process and make the file itself bigger, taking more space on your drive. So what I think we should go with for this is likely, I think we want to go with a 900mm by 2100mm doorway. It'll be a nice, good-sized exterior doorway. It'll be around 7 foot. So we can click OK again, and it'll only load that specific subfamily. And we're again greeted by the same preview. And I'm thinking, let's place it in the top right corner. And right now, I'm just going to place this wrong, but that's fine. After we place it, we'll still be able to place more doors, so we can press escape once and twice to get out of the door placing. And we can select this door model in order to fix the orientation of the door. We can click on the 2 arrows that are going in the direction perpendicular to the wall, flip which side the door opens onto, and then the arrows that are going parallel to the wall, just switch which side the door opens to. Yes. So the door down here is a garage door, so it'll open up and over, whereas the door that we just added is your conventional doorway that you have in residential and commercial structures. Yes, we got them both from libraries. They're both from the library. It's just that they're different families. Family, basically, the type is the model itself. So there are different big families. So if I just open up the so I'll, yeah. So in this menu, we can see all the different types of families that there are in Revit. Today, we're just going to be talking about the doors and windows, and as well as title blocks, because that's what you need to have a basic understanding of it. And what I'm going for today is to get a basic, strong foundation for your Revit knowledge to build upon. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. So now we have our door for back entry and our garage door down here, which is where you could drive your car. Now I'm thinking that along this bottom side here, we'll have like a laneway. So, and then up here we can have a backyard. So what we'll probably want to do is we're going to probably add a fence along the bottom. There's no fence tool, but I have a trick which I will show you how to make fences. And I'll also introduce you to some other tools in the process. But first, let us add a floor to this building. So what we're going to want to do is up on the top ribbon again under the Architecture tab. That. And by default, we'll have a 400mm floor, which is fine. Today we're not going to really delve too deeply into the different things you can do with all the different walls and floors, and they're super highly. And in order to draw the floor, you can either go line tool and draw it in a similar fashion to the walls, or we can use the pick walls tool. Then, if we were using the pick walls tool, we can just simply click on the side of the wall where we want the lines, and we could click checkmark, but because I'm thinking we should have a single floor model for both the inside of the garage and driveway, what we're instead going to do is we're going to go under the split element tool up here. It's L, and hotkeys in Revit are super duper important and they speed up your workflow a lot. We're able to split this line, just escape twice, and now we'll see this blue circle, so we can just drag that over to the end of the door, select the other half of the line, and do the same. And so now there is no line in the center here. It means we can take the line tool again and draw some extra little lines like this. And for the snap at this point, and then we can just draw it down. Bring it again across to the other side. We have another snap. Go up, get to another snap, and just complete the profile. However, I'm just going to quickly delete this line here. demonstrate this. If the profile is not closed, the check mark in the top left, you will not be able to complete the floor and will prompt you with this error. And typically between the two instances that are closed, they'll show two orange dots, and then you can just take the line tool and connect them. And now we can finish the edit, and now we have a floor. So now we are at the point where we'll have to change views, and I'm thinking now would be a good time to go into the 3D view to see how the model is looking. Because I personally believe that going between two-dimensional plan views and elevations and the 3D view allows for a greater level of detail and understanding of the design. So we can go up to this uppermost ribbon and click on the little house icon to open the default 3D view, and you'll be able to be greeted by this. In order to orbit around the model, you can hold left shift and the scroll wheel to rotate. You can see all the different sides of the model. Now I'm noticing right now that this garage is extremely tall, so we're going to want to lower the elevations slightly, as well as add a roof to this model, and likely also some windows. So to lower the top level of the wall, let's go under elevations. I think a south elevation would work pretty well for this. And a 4-meter high ceiling in a garage is a bit extreme, I think. So I think we should lower this to 2600 millimeters. That way we have a bit of height above the garage door, but not so much that it's excessive. And because we changed the height of the level instead of the height of the walls all changed height at the same time, which is good. If we go back into the 3D view, we can see that everything has updated to match the new elevation. So the next step we can go through is potentially adding a roof. So to add a roof, we can go to the level 2 on the floor plan, and we're going to want to use this roof tool right here. So now we're in a very similar menu to the floor one, with a few differences. First one being the define slope checkbox in the top left of the screen on the green ribbon. The lines that you draw that define the slope are the sides of the building where your roof will start to slope upwards to a peak, or just to another edge if there's only one slope that's defined. Additionally, we have this overhang. For this, I think an overhang of 600 millimeters will be excellent. And you'll notice that when I'm hovering over the wall, I'm presented with two options for which side the line will be drawn on, and want it to be on the outermost edge of the wall. So right now we have the dotted line on the left side, so we can click, and you'll notice that we have a triangle here, and that is a visual indicator that says this line is the slope of the roof. You can go to the other side and draw another roof slope defining line, and then we're going to uncheck define slope and bring in the overhang to 450 millimeters on the north and south sides. For more simple, like a square, the lines will automatically connect, but as you get into more complicated shapes, they might not work as nicely. Now that the roof is done, click the check mark, and it'll draw a roof for us, and we can go into 3D to make sure that it looks right, and it's where we want it. So this looks all right, but you'll notice that these walls don't connect to the ceiling of the roof, and we want those to connect. So what we can do is we can select the wall and click attach top/base and select the roof, or to make things faster, because this is a continual set of walls, we can press tab once, and you'll notice that it outlines all the walls still selected in blue. We can click once, and it'll select all of them, and we can do all the walls at the same time. Now, as we orbit around, you'll notice that from that one side, all the walls have now updated to be connected to the roof, and we didn't have to draw any more walls. So the next step is, I think, to add one window at this end above the garage door, and maybe two on the right side here. So the first windows we'll add will be on the right side, or on the east side. We're going to go back into the floor plan, and we're going to select the window tool, which also has the shortcut of WN. And for these windows, I think we're just going to use the M fixed model, and I think we will use the 610 millimeter by 1220 millimeter window, or, sorry, that, oh boy. Okay then. Sorry, we're going to use the 610 by 1830. Wait, what? Never mind. We're going to use 915 by 1220. So we're going to place two windows along this side. And now they are placed very precisely, so let's give them some more precision. To do this, we're going to use the dimension tool, which we get to by under annotate, and then any of these dimensions will measure different things. For this, we're going to use the aligned dimension, which will automatically pick up the line that is parallel to that surface. Select this dotted center line, but I actually want a dimension to the outer surface walls because that is the conventional standard for dimension. We can press Tab until the topmost wall is highlighted in blue. We can click once, and now we're drawing a dimension line, and we can select the different sides of windows, like this, and again, pressing Tab to select the right side of the wall. We can bring it off to the side, and just click again, and now the dimension is finalized, and now we can see the different distances stuff are from the edge of the wall. So for this, I want this window here to be 2,000 millimeters, or 2 meters, from this bottom edge of the wall. I want this top wall to be the same distance from outside almost edge. Now, these windows are precisely placed, and if you were to present this drawing to a builder, they would know where those windows went. The next step, for a window above the garage door, we're going to have to go into the second level of floor plan. And then we're going to go under the Architecture tab again, select Window, load another family, and a window family. So you can just use this up one level button between the left and the X, go under Windows, and presented with a huge amount of different windows. I am not sure which window we want at the moment. I think we will go with the fixed pentagon, which is this one, and it is near the bottom for the standard window size that I have. It's M window fixed pentagon, but if you want to go with a different shape, that's all good. We're just going to click OK, and again we'll be presented with a very similar window to what we got with the door. And here we can decide which window we want to use in the model. And I'm thinking a nice 700 by 1100 is a conservative size that should fit between the garage door and the roof. If it doesn't though, it's not a big deal. We can always adjust things in the project to make things fit. So you can click OK, and we've just imported this model. And again, different side of the wall. We want to be clicking on the more outer edge of the wall. That way the window will be placed in the correct orientation. And now it's correct. We can press Escape twice to get out of the window placing menu. And we can go into 3D to see how things are looking. Okay, so we can see that this window is very high up and looks kind of goofy. So I'm thinking we should lower it down a bit. So if we select the window, and when it's highlighted blue, on the left menu, we can select the sill height and set it to something like 450 millimeters, and see how that looks after pressing apply. It still looks a bit goofy, but I think it looks a lot better, and I think it's good enough for today. So now we have a fairly well assembled garage. Looks fairly boring, but it's a fairly simple garage. Next, I'm thinking we should probably go through and potentially add some detailing to the design, things like fascias and gutters. So there's nice things that add a bunch of detail and don't take too much time to do. So if you click on the down arrow below roof, we'll be faced with these three tools: soffit, fascia, and gutter. But we're going to start with the fascia tool. So you click on that, we're greeted with this fascia tool, and you can click along the edge of the roof to draw a nice fascia. One thing that I'm noticing though, as I'm drawing this, is that the fascia doesn't completely cover the edge of the roof, but we can go back and adjust that in a moment. And I also misclicked once, so the fascia does not completely cover everything. You don't have to start a new fascia, you can simply select it and add or remove segments, and just click on the edges of the roof that don't have this fascia. And then we either have two solutions to make the fascia completely cover the roof. We can either adjust the thickness of the roof, or we can change the fascia profile. I think the easier solution, we'll have to do a mixture of both. So in the fascia menu, we can click Edit Type, and this will edit the family itself, and this will edit the fascia family, and any fascia that you're using in the project will update to match this. If the type is the same, if the type is the same, that is. So what we can do is under Profile, we can select the text and click on the down arrow and select fascia flat 19 by 286. That'll give us a slightly longer fascia. And then we're going to select the roof itself, click Edit Type on that. We're going to, under the structure, we're going to click Edit. And here, for the thickness, we're going to set this to, let's just do some mental math, 89. Let's set this to 200. That's a fairly reasonable 2x6 framed roof system, I think. I'm just going off of a really rough number in my head, so it might be wrong. Then we can click Apply and OK, and now the roof is slightly thinner, and the fascia completely extends beyond the bottom of the roof. That's all good, and we can move on to the next step. The next step would be to add the gutters to the roof. So again, we can go under this tool, and we can select Gutter, and we can go to the edge, and select the edge of the fascia, and any flat sections we select, we can draw a gutter on. I'm just going along and selecting things, zooming in when necessary using the scroll wheel. And then once you're done selecting all the faces you want, you can click elsewhere or press escape. And you have drawn a gutter now. Oof, let's take a quick little break while we sign pieces of paper. Start recording again. Nice. So in the A360, I was just talking about how you can use the A360 to provide comments on design as well as walk through the design. So I commented myself, hey, these windows along the side need to be slightly bigger. So one way we can do this is we can click it and edit type, and then we always want to duplicate the thing instead of just simply like changing the thing. And we'll also want to rename it to match what we're changing. So we're going to change the width from 915 millimeters all the way up to, let's say, 1440 millimeters by 1220. So over here, we can go for the width, we can set 1440. Click OK. And now we'll have a new window family in the project, which we can change this window to. And now we'll have slightly larger windows. And if those windows are too small, you can adjust the file. I think those windows are pretty good for a garage. They'll let in enough light so that way it's nice and bright. And now in order to make this building look a bit better, I think I'm going to do some stuff with the foundation, which I think to do, we're going to create a new level. So to do this, we're going to go into elevation. Under Datum tab on the architecture, we're going to select the level tool, and we can draw a new level. And we will continue this momentarily once people get back. Okay, so now that we've drawn the level, we can adjust the height of it. And we're going to also name this to top of footings. You have a garage. It's a garage. It needs a footing. And if my memory serves me correctly, you want 4 foot below grade for your footings. 4 feet is 48 inches. I don't know how that compares. We're just gonna say this is 1,000 meters below the ground. That's like 3 feet. It's not great. It's not horrible though. Let's go 1.25. If I didn't, I'd be sad. Okay, so now we have a new level, and we're also gonna create another one. So we can either click on the LL button up here for level, or we can select the elevation and do CS to create similar. This is a super duper duper helpful tool. Saves a huge amount of time. Actually, we won't bother creating a new one. Then we can go under top of footings in the floor plans, and we're going to go underlay range level 1. Sorry, we're going to go top of footings. Wait, come on. Why aren't you showing me this? Ah, there you go. Top of footings to level 2, and we'll be able to see this nice outline of where the walls are. So you can open up our wall tool using WA, and we are going to go with generic 200 millimeter CMU concrete masonry units. We can just use the endpoint snapping to draw a new set of walls, and it should automatically be constrained to the right stuff. And then after we're done that, we can go back into the 3D view, make sure that things don't look horrifying. And we have a small problem. If I just quickly hide the garage door by using HH, which temporarily hides it from the model, you'll notice that the floor and the garage and the slab of the garage intersect with each other. So what we can do is we can go under the Modify tab, click Join, click the floor and the wall, and we'll join them together and cut the volume of the floor out from the wall. So that's a super useful tool. And this matters more when you're doing multi-story buildings, where you have walls going up to the next floor. But sometimes it's quite handy. So then we can just click on the sunglasses down here along the bottom, where it says temporary hide and isolate. We can reset that. And now our garage door is back, and the blue border along the edge of the screen is gone. Next, because I am annoying sometimes, we're going to add a footing to the building. Which is unnecessary, but it's fun, because it's so simple. We're going to under the Structure tab, and under Wall, we're going to add a structural foundation. And we can just click on all the walls, and bada bing, bada boom, we got some foundations. I don't know if that's the code, or if that's the best way to do it's the code, but I don't know if it's the best way to do garage foundations. It's just how I've done them in the past. And now we have a foundationed garage. And I'm realizing now that we did not properly do the floor going through this doorway. So if we want to edit the boundary of a floor after it's already been drawn, let's go back into the level 1 floor plan and select this floor. We can just drag and select and edit the boundary. And in order to create a small little area for this door, we're going to draw a few lines like this. Just that way the slab goes to the edge of the wall. And the next step will be to split the line here, like we did earlier for the garage door opening. Press escape twice to cancel out of the split tool. And now we're going to use a new tool called the Trim or an Extend tool. This one is amazing. The shortcut for it is TR. And you're going to click on one line, the end of the line that you don't want cut. And you're going to select the next line, and it'll trim the line so that way any of the excess material is deleted. And this is going to save you a bunch of time when you have to do a bunch of things. So you just click check mark again to finish this. I'm going to click no because we don't like that. It's bad. Don't use it. Trust me, it's bad. And we're going to go into the modify tab again to join the wall and the floor. And now it's taking the slab out, and this is a humongously thick slab. We're just going to change this to a 200 millimeter thick concrete slab. It's not concrete right now, but we can fix that later. I'm just going to save this again. Yes, you want to save, because if Revit crashes, you'll be so sad if it crashes. So make sure you save often. And now we have what I think is a fairly decent garage. And I think what it needs now is some land and a fence. So to add land, we're going to go to our site view, because this is the best view in my opinion for adding topo surface. We're going to select the roof, the gutter system, and the fascia, and we're going to press H twice to hide it. This makes adding topo surfaces easier when you don't have to deal with the outline of the roof messing things up. Then we can go under Massing and Site and click Topo Surface, and now you'll be able to create a topo surface. Wait, before we do this, let's just create some rough lines for us to draw the edges of the topo surface to. So for this, we're going to use the detail lines, and I think we're going to use the pick lines tool, so that way we can do a nice easy offset of, let's do a 2500 millimeter offset on the left, and then we're going to draw a line like this. We don't have to go all the way. Oops, the offset was still enabled. So you can just draw a line, and we're going to use the trim and extend tool again, like this. Again, it's an amazing tool. I love it. And just to make things simple, let's go 5,000 meters behind the back and to the right. And this will give us a bit of a decent footprint. We're going to reset the offset to 0 along this front edge of the garage. Actually, for this side of the garage, we're not going to go all the way. We're going to go up to here, and we're going to there. I know, we want the detail line to go all the way around the edge of the site. That way, when we're placing in our massing points, it's nice and precise. So now we can go to the top of surface and place our points at the corner of our site. And that's pretty much it to start with. So now if we go back into our 3D view, we'll notice that we now have a nice site, but it's also interacting with the building pad, which isn't nice. So one of the easier ways to solve this is to create a building pad, which we can do by selecting this. And a super quick and dirty way of just doing this is we can use the pick line tool, press tab until the perimeter of our floor is selected, click once, and we now have a building pad. And we can go into an elevation view. For this, I can use the south elevation. And you can tell what's being selected based on the text in the bottom left corner down here. So what we're going to be looking for when it says pad 1, we're going to use this move tool to move it down to below the floor. We're going to select this and we're going to edit type. I'm going to make this a much smaller, well, let's say 150 millimeter thick pad. And personally, I would set this to a material like gravel. That way it would make a bit of sense. But now you'll notice that the pad no longer is overlapping with the floor. Sorry, the topo surface is no longer overlapping with the floor, and things will look much cleaner. So now that we have a building and some topo surface, we can add things like a fence around the edge of the site, which I think just adds a bit of character. However, under the Massing and Site tool and architecture, you'll notice there is no fence tool. This is one kind of cool trick I've learned. You can use railings as fences. Trust me, this is a weird solution, but it works. So to create a fence out of a railing, we're going to select the railing tool, click Edit Type, Duplicate. We're going to name this to Fence. That way we're not messing up other railings that might have been in the project already. And it's always a good practice to always to duplicate a type before you start changing things in it. So for this, we're going to want to go under Edit, and we're going to have a preview. You just follows. I'm just going to click Cancel so that way you can see what I did again. You're going to click Rail Structure Non-Continuous, Edit. And these are the horizontal parts. And for our fence, we're not going to want any of these. We can just delete them, click Apply, and you'll notice in the preview. Then what we can do is we can go under baluster placement. And our balusters, we're probably going to go with, let's make this fence out of like 25 by 25 millimeters square things. Oh boy, we're going to have to make some, we'll deal with this in a moment. Okay, so you'll notice we don't really have any good sized profiles that we can use for this. And at the top, we're going to use the 50 by 50 millimeter profile as our top rail. And you know what? This is fine. This is fine. This is just jank. 25, 25. We're going to set the distances from previous. And we're going to go change this from negative 12.5 to 25 and 25. And we're going to go change this to negative 12.5. No, we're going to change this to 6.125 and 6.125. And if we click apply, we should now get like a slight staggering in the wall. Oh, wait, no, that's base offset. Sorry, my bad. We want the offset, so we want to go 6.125 and negative 6.125. Click apply, and we'll get a bit of a side-to-side offset. So we can click OK. And we're going to want our fence to be 1.5 meters tall, so we can change the height to that. And we'll have a taller fence. So then we can go into our site view, which should still have the hidden stuff going. And we can draw the lines of our fence, like this. And because we have those lines from earlier, we can just quickly offset stuff from the edges of stuff. So I'm going to offset stuff by 50 millimeters inwards, this. And for here, I'm going to have the fence go along that edge. So that way it's like you can have some space for your bins in the alleyway or whatnot. Then you can click check mark and it'll have drawn your fence. If you go back into 3D, you can see our beautiful fence. And if the site wasn't flat, so if I go into here quickly, edit surface, and change the height of these 2 points, so let's say negative 100, that goes down 10 centimeters, you'll notice that the fence does not stay on the topo surface. What you can do is you can select your fence, pick new host, and select the topo surface, and it'll stick itself onto the surface, and it'll be nice and pretty. Then we can click Control S again to save, because we did something cool. And I think this is probably a pretty good place to leave it for this week. So I'm just going to save again. I'll walk you through the process of uploading to A360, because I did not do that on video yet. So with A360, pretty nice. You can go to a360.autodesk.com, sign in. Then you can go to the UBC Seismic, and I'm just uploading this as the demo 914. We can drag that into here, and it'll automatically update the file, and it'll save an archived version of the previous versions of the file. So model will now update, and we can, I believe, create patch notes between the different versions. I'm not 100% sure how you do that, but I'm pretty sure you can say what changed between the versions. And then when you go into the A360, you can see the current version. And I believe you can compare there's a way to compare stuff between the different versions. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today.